feared and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the PTBNL, the podcast to be named later, which we really do, swear to God, we will have a name later. I am your host tonight, Shane. I'm not happy. I'm quite sad. We should have had home baseball and CBP this week, but we don't, and I have three guests with me tonight who are going to talk about it. I have, holy shit, I almost introduced Rob, who's not on the call just because he's used text messages I'm reading right now. So I'm going to go to a guy who also did this pre-recording, Biscuit. Joe Berardi, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Shane. Thanks for having me on again.
You got it, man. Thanks for indulging my choppy open here. Sean.
Always.
Sean New, how are you, sir?
I'm as good as I can be, and I'm excited to talk some Phillies baseball, even though I can't watch it.
I know, man. It's a nightmare. And then Scott, who's going to do my math homework for me after this while I do a paper. How are you, man?
Pretty good. As a guy with a nerdy engineering background, I'm just itching to do math homework, but I'm itching more to talk Phillies baseball.
Hell yeah. Well, we're not going to talk math here. We are just going to talk baseball.
God damn.
We can chat math afterwards. But look, obviously this is a week that definitely, I think, made it even more real. I mean, we're all going through that bit of baseball or sports withdrawal in general.
Yeah.
But April 2nd came around, and we should have been on our way down to Citizens Bank Park. We should have been watching Bryce Harper's, I don't know, 7th and 8th home runs of the year. Like it should have been. This should have been an incredibly exciting week.
That's a conservative number, by the way.
So, I mean, 2020 MVP Harper was, that was the surest bet you could make in Philadelphia sports this year.
Absolutely.
But, we're, like I said, I open us up. I am genuinely sad at this point. I was talking with Biscuit a little bit before we got on. We don't know when normal is going to return, and when it does, we don't know what it's going to look like. So I figured we'd take a minute real quick and just kind of check in with you guys and see how you're all doing. Again, I feel like I called Biscuit first here. He was the only one online, but we talked a little bit and we caught up. Your work over there, Joe, is going through some changes, and you have survived that first wave at this point, but undoubtedly stressful. How are you managing your time since last time we spoke?
I'm doing well. I'm in good spirits. I'm thankfully still working, which is good. I'd rather be working remotely than not working at all. So I'm very fortunate for that. I think when the NBA canceled their season, you knew baseball was coming next, and it was going to be coming soon. And I thought I handled that news very well at the time, but now I'm at a place where I'm really starting to miss baseball. And the show was a good fix for the time being, but now I'm not. I'm jonesing a little bit for some Phillies baseball, and I just miss it so much. I've been listening to, I listened to the national anthem earlier before a Phillies game, and just
you are the only person on this podcast who could say that. And I 100% just believe you. And I picture you, just so we're clear, I do picture you like saluting a flag in your home and like American flag boxers of some sorts.
I'm not that intense. I'm not that intense. But I just think and I might have saw a tweet about this, but I wholeheartedly agree with this. When baseball returns and you're in the stands and the stadium's packed to its fullest after it's been so long, and you hear that national anthem, I'm going to have tears. It's just going to be so powerful and such a moving moment. It's going to be the
Philadelphia Boys Choir again. And if you guys have all been to opening day before, right? It's not just me.
I've been to a few in the last 10 years.
Right, well, it's always the Philadelphia Boys Choir. And yeah, there are I will say there are certain people, like I think our national anthem sucks. It just when you hear other nationals, it's just like, God damn, this is not great. But there are certain renditions of it. There are certain people who do it, and they're just so classically perfect about it that it's hard to not appreciate that.
Mhm.
I do think that would be one of those moments where you get that immediate chill again.
Yeah, it's powerful, and I've just been like, watching all types of highlights. Any thing from last year. I watched a few games. Like I watched opening day against the Braves from last year. Just trying to relive all the great moments. I miss it. I just miss it a lot, and I hope and pray it's going to return very soon. But I think that result looks a bit shaky at the moment. But I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, man. Well, we all are. We're all missing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, how about you, man? How's your week going since the last time we spoke?
It's been pretty boring. I pretty much spend most of my days, if I'm not in class, which I really only have 3 days a week, I'm playing the show, or I'm looking up random baseball stats. I got into a pretty big debate the other day with a friend about Andrew Knapp, and he said, and he went on and on about how bad he was. So I took the liberty of spending about an hour looking up the stats of every backup catcher in baseball, just to compare them. And Andrew Knapp, according to the stats, is about 14th, which is right where, you'd expect our backup catcher to be. So I think everybody should get off his back. But transitioning back to the question,
Andrew Knapp.
I'm doing all right. And it sucks that I can't, see my friends or my girlfriend or any of that stuff. But, it's made me appreciate some things. And I'm trying to take the optimistic route when it comes to this virus.
Man, so that's tough. Like I obviously live with Stephanie, so I fortunately, still get to see and spend time with her every single day. How difficult is that right now? Like having a romantic partner that you're unable to be with and you not know when the next time you're able to see them is.
It sucks. We actually, because we heard other people were doing this with, some family members, we both packed lunch, or in her case, she packed. I went and got like Taco Bell. But
well, that's fucking romantic. Keep going.
we pulled up next to each other in a parking lot and just talked like between cars, because both of her parents work at ShopRite. So she's absolutely like on edge about getting it or spreading it or any of that stuff. And her main goal is to not, come in contact with anybody no matter what.
Sure.
So, we had to talk between parking spots.
That's actually pretty adorable, man. Good for you guys.
Yeah.
Like all kidding aside, that's a length that, first of all, I'd 100% risk it all. If I was in that close contact, someone would get naked pretty soon. So good for you for being able to do that. And good for your lady too, being that careful and cautious. That's obviously I just said I'd risk it all. I'm a pretty selfish human in this moment. She sounds far nicer than me. But yeah, man, I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad that you guys are still making some time. That's good. Mm-hmm. Scott, you're basically in quarantine for everyone you know and love anyway. 365, living out on the West Coast. I would say I would assume the hardest thing is the fact that your weather's always nice and to go out, you can't really go outside. But then again, you live on the fucking beach. So, I mean, you doing fine?
Yeah. So being able to sit at your computer for 8 to 10 hours a day and stare at the beach kind of plays tricks with your mind a little bit, because I feel like I'm okay. I feel like I'm in a tropical climate, and then like I just kind of can't go outside, and then when I take my brief walk every day and pretend to run a little bit and then realize I'm severely out of shape and can't really do that and embarrass myself, then it kind of all comes crashing down, and I try to call a friend and be like, yeah, I was just on a run, what's up? Like so I've been doing that. Been growing a pretty sweet neck beard, So
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You know, when you're a single guy during quarantine, you don't need to shave. So
There you
everyone
go.
be jealous of me.
Rocking that Coy Detmer. Keep it
Yeah.
going.
But don't be too jealous. You know, I kind of wish I was with loved ones and family right now. But hey, we all do what we got to do during the quarantine. And by the way, I miss baseball too. I'm desperately hurting over here. I have watched quite a few old Phillies games. I've been sparsing them in between some old MJ highlights and some old Steph Curry highlights back at Davidson. So I've been trying to keep all the
man.
sports in my mind. Not gambling over here, playing the stock market. Still an easy way to lose money. So it's just kind of where I'm at. I'm offering to do people's math homework because I'm bored. Like, my mind's a dark place. Let's move back to Sean New's cute meat story with his girlfriend. That was much more uplifting.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. That was probably the best thing any of our listeners are going to hear at the end of this. But listen, I'm glad all you guys are doing, you know, as well as you can be during it. You know, we obviously do all miss baseball, and you know, again, April 2nd, you know, was what is yesterday, you know, and we all should have been at the bank. Now, I myself have had a tradition since 94, I believe, was the first year. My dad would take me to every single opening day, you know, until about, I guess it was probably like 15 or 16. You know, so I was working and like had money, and then I started taking him. You know, and then we expanded that, and I started taking Stephanie, and then we started also taking her dad. So now it's the four of us, and we go, you know, every year. And you know, it's hard. You know, it's like for a lot of us, like this is like our Christmas. Like this is the only thing we look forward to almost all year. So before I get to some of the stuff that I typically do on opening day, kind of give you guys a shot. Like were you planning on being there, you know, for opening day yesterday? And two, what is your normal opening day tradition for Philadelphia Phillies baseball? I'm going to start with Biscuit.
So, I distinctly remember it starting in 2012 because I remember Freddie Galvis had a 2-run double, I believe, and that was like his first big league hit. From like that period to probably about 2015, my dad and I probably went to every home opener or wow, if I could talk tonight, or opening day at Citizens Bank Park. You know, that was always great. There were times in college when I couldn't make it down to the ballpark just because I had other commitments. But I always was able to watch opening day. I distinctly remember my senior year because it was a game I was not going to miss, and I was adamant about not missing pregame either. I left to class at like, I believe the game might have started at 3. I left class at like 2:15. I just got up and left, and I said, "Professor, prior commitments." And you know, he was a very cool guy. He understood. He knew, you know, throughout the semester that I was a big Phillies fan. So regardless of what's going on in my life, I will watch the home opener, hell or high water, or opening day.
And were you planning on going this year? I don't know that we've ever talked about it.
So actually, Mary Kate and I had tickets for tomorrow.
Okay.
We had tickets for tomorrow. We said to ourselves, you know, we made the decision kind of that before everything started getting canceled, and this was kind of, you know, becoming more and more of like an imminent issue. We said, like, you know, if they're not going to refund us, like, we'll go and like use our seats. Like, I'll risk it for my Phillies, but you know,
You're an asshole. I would have done the same.
Yeah, man, we paid for those tickets. We had good seats. I wanted to see my boy Bryce. I was looking forward to it. I was really looking forward to it. But I think the right decisions were made when the season was suspended. And we're just anxiously waiting to see when baseball will return to our lives.
All right, and Sean, you had an April ticket plan, if I'm not mistaken. It was either you or Andrew. I'm blanking. Forgive me.
Yes, it was me, and it was for everything except the first 3 games, this first series.
Okay. Did you have tickets outside of the plan for opening day or no?
No. So actually, yesterday, I'm not sure what time the game would have been, but I'm assuming would it have been 7 o'clock? I'm guessing.
3.
It was 3. Okay. Well, I had class yesterday from 3:30 straight to 8:30. So I probably would have just had it up, on my laptop during class, not paying attention, just doing anything to watch them. So I probably would have missed a decent amount to travel to class or, any of that stuff. I've never really been somebody to have an opening day tradition.
Okay. Man, I'm starting to feel slightly nerdy, or just better than you guys. One or the other.
Once I have the time and I'm done school, I will absolutely start creating these traditions. But
I should certainly hope so. All right, Scott, how about you, man? I mean, your dad was kind of similar to my dad, and the whole sports and what they kind of gave to us. So, did you and your dad ever get to go down, or did you and your brothers go down, or anything like that?
We never did. Growing up, we were always playing baseball on opening day. And that was before we all realized that we were woefully undersized. And me as a right-handed pitcher realized that, throwing 70 miles an hour is not going to get into the major league. So probably should have cut that short and just gone down to the ballpark. But hey, here we are.
When the fuck were you playing baseball at 3 o'clock on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday?
High school baseball practice, bro.
The fuck does that? They didn't cancel that for you?
No, not at all.
That's amazing. I love my coach.
In fact, they would yell at us if we were trying to play on our phones or trying to catch a game or whatever. It was all business. You throw that flat brim hat on and the Council Rock South t-shirt and you go run. And in my case, you just kind of stand there and shag balls and then throw a bullpen. That was basically all I did at practice. But yeah, so I mean, my long-standing baseball tradition used to just be, sprinting home to catch a game on TV if I wasn't playing. The one thing I do that's a little nerdy still is every opening day I eat a hot dog. Gets me in the baseball mood a little bit. I'm always watching some kind of game, whether I'm streaming the Phils at work or catching some kind of later game on opening day. Just always try to get that hot dog in, that just screams baseball to me.
Yeah, man, I dig that. That's part of my opening day thing too. Again, as I mentioned, since '94, either, my father's been taking me or I've been taking him, and, that tradition of 2 expanded to include Stephanie and her dad. But so I mentioned last pod, how much of a role my grandmother on my dad's side, so Scott, you've never met her that I know of, played a role in my appreciation of baseball. Like every old person repeated herself a million times. So she would fully lather up a hot dog in mustard to the point where it was like, is there even a hot dog there? And every single time we watched baseball, she'd make hot dogs and she would put on an absurd amount of ketchup, take a bite, and always drip some on her jersey like a slob. So my dad would purposely do this on opening day, and we'd have a laugh about it in the middle. It's almost always like the 4th or 5th inning. Just to have that moment of man, we're grateful for the time that we were able to spend, with his mom, in that game. And then she would always utter the phrase, "He's due," in this just really irritating voice. And nobody can truly be due on opening day for anything. But sure enough, and a lot of these opening days, they were freezing cold with rain and wind. And for a lot of them, opening day is not a great day at Citizens Bank Park. Results-wise, it's baseball, so you're just glad to be there. But for a lot of those years, man, there were some tough games to sit through. But we figured, what? They've had 2 or 3 at-bats come the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. They're all fucking due. We need something to cheer about. So we'd turn to each other almost always at the same time towards that last third of the game and be like, "He's due," like my grandmother would say. We'd have a laugh about it. But beyond that, my other 2 traditions are going down. I always drive on the elbow of 95 when it's in standstill, and I cut off 15,000 people and don't give a shit about it. And then when I leave, I always drive up onto the islands that separate the parking lots in the Citizens Bank parking lot, so not Jet Row, where I typically park for other events.
Jet Row's the place. Jet Row is absolutely the place.
Right? Jet Row is so much better. But it's the only time that I ever park in here, and I always drive over everything, go over the median, and then just go out and cut off another 15,000 people when I leave and just say, fuck it. So this was so much easier to do when I had a shitty Nissan Xterra, 2004 Nissan Xterra that I didn't care about. Now that I have this like really nice truck that I've had, it is fucking horrifying. Now I sit here, I'm like, if anybody touches me, I'm going to lose my shit. But yeah, so that's kind of my thing. You know, I try to still keep that East Coast assholeian mindset of I'm going to cut off 30,000 people in one day. But then I also have those sweet and sensitive moments of still remembering my grandmother and where some of my baseball memories at their root and core kind of happened. So it's a different day for me, but I dig it, man. Like opening day is, like I said, it's our Christmas, man. And it just depresses me to sit here on now April 3rd and not be talking to you guys about a third pitch Andrew McCutchen leadoff home run and a first game curtain call grand slam for Rhys Hoskins and the most absurdly ugly cleats I've ever seen in my life of Bryce Harper with the most insane fist pump. Like those are things, man, that like last year was unbelievable. The environment was amazing. And it kills me to not be able to talk about that kind of an environment again today, especially with you guys who I didn't obviously have the chance to talk to last year. But so much is, let's see. So much has kind of gone on with our players and players all across sports about how they're getting involved or staying involved with their communities. What they're doing for the employees of their stadiums or their arenas. And for the most part, Philadelphia's athletes have been pretty quiet. I know Al Horford's done some things. Joel Embiid's obviously been making the 76ers owners look like garbage, which I respect. Bryce Harper, it is not hard to do at all. Bryce Harper went in for $500,000 and they have their pledge, Rhys Hoskins along with him there. But I'm kind of curious to get you guys' take. This is ordinarily a time that we would not get to hear about our Philadelphia Phillies outside of what they do on the field. But we're going to get to sit here and probably get the most personal look into their lives that we're ever going to get. Because this is, for a lot of them, this is the first time they're going to go more than 2 or 3 months without having to do baseball related things 24/7. So I'm curious to get you guys' thoughts as to what you would like to see from our Philadelphia Phillies, or if there was any Philly in particular that you were, going to kind of keep an eye on during this whole pandemic and process as we try to find our way back to normalcy. Biscuit, I'm going to start with you, man.
Just seeing I think one of the things that has been pretty powerful coming out of everything that's been happening over the last month is just seeing how empathetic people have become and, showing, I guess, a more higher level of human decency. And just seeing people rise to the occasion and try to, do well and make the best of this situation. So, some of the responses by the Philly athletes like Bryce or Joel Embiid, it's really a great thing to see. And I think it shows that at the end of the day, they're people too. And, you can make the argument that they make, exorbitant amounts of money and stuff like that, but they're in the position to donate and they're helping. Content wise, it's always fun to kind of see them showing off their personality. For the Phillies players in general, any little hidden talents. One player that comes to mind is Didi Gregorius. I don't know if you guys ever saw the clip of him playing John Legend's All of You on the piano. That was.
Is there anything
dope.
he can't do?
He's so talented. I believe I read an article at the beginning of the month of March where he's fluent in multiple languages. He's knighted. He's a fucking knight.
He's knighted. What?
Yeah, he's
Sir
Sir
Didi
Didi.
Gregorius.
He is a sir.
Get the fuck out of here. Seriously?
Dude,
How did I not know that?
make him. I don't care if the Phillies don't play a game this season. He's a Philly for life.
Giving him his pinstripes already. God damn.
Yeah, dude. I think, and that's something I'm so mad about. Like, I really wanted to see Didi Gregorius in action. I thought he was gonna be like just such a little like plug for this team with his energy and with his excitement. How he plays every game with such conviction and passion. Like, man, damn you, coronavirus. But that's what, like, you know, like, just what they're doing. You know, I think they're bored. I think they're getting to the point where they're just trying to create content to keep themselves entertained, to keep us entertained. But I think they're missing baseball too. And the sooner we get out of this, the sooner, you know, more start practicing social distancing. Hopefully we can get our baseball back, because I think that's what everyone wants.
Yeah, man, it absolutely is. So if you had to pick one Philly, let's go position players. Let's not include bullpen or starting pitchers or anything right now, but position players that you would want to watch throughout this process and get to know how they're integrating themselves into the community, what they're doing for the community, and then kind of how they're spending their time beyond the home training that they can still do. You know, if it's how they interact with their family or their kids, you know, whatever, you know, or anything like that. Who's the Philly that you would want to most pay attention to throughout this process?
Can we do any starting pitchers or just position players?
Oh, fuck it. Sure. Go ahead. Do a starting pitcher.
I'd really like to see what Zach Wheeler's first impression of Philly was. Obviously, that's a pretty tough thing to look for, considering he's never, you know, pitched more than a few spring training starts. But just like, I want to know, like, obviously with Bryce, the entire spotlight was on him, even though they had a pretty good year of free agency in that 2018-2019 offseason. But this one, even though Zach Wheeler was the big signing, it wasn't kind of like the Bryce Harper saga that we saw last season. So just kind of like how he matriculated into the environment. Obviously, I believe I saw that he's having a kid. So him and his wife are expecting. Yeah, him or Didi, I guess. Didi's another one. I think I could watch Didi Gregorius just do Didi things all day. Whether it's, you know, hit clutch home runs in playoff games or serenade me with John Legends, all of you. Like, the guy's just such a talent.
Fuck, I think Didi Gregorius just volunteered to do your math homework better than me, Shane.
And I'll tell it to me in French. I won't know what the fuck he's talking about either way. All right, Sean, I'm gonna roll to you now. You know, what kinds of things are you looking for out of our Philadelphia Phillies during this pandemic process?
I mean, I love seeing the videos of the people at home with their kids. I think you don't really get to see that as much during the season. You know, they're so focused on, you know, game day. They're there from morning to night, and they get home and their kids are already asleep. So I like seeing that kind of stuff. And out of a specific Philly, it's got to be Andrew McCutchen. I mean, he's just everything he does, every home video he's posted, every behind-the-scenes thing involving him is just so fun to watch. And if I had to pick one, it'd be him. But I wanted to bring this up because it's funny, because I brought up players, you know, doing things with their kids. And I don't know if you guys saw Trevor Williams from the Pirates tweeted out a video. I don't know if you guys had seen this, but it's him pitching to his, you know, like 4-year-old kid. And his tweet says, MLB opening day at home. I'm on pace for 27 punch-outs. And he just throws it straight past his kid. And the kid kind of just turns around like he barely swung at the pitch on time. And if you guys haven't seen it, look it up. But I love
awesome.
that. I had never really even heard the name Trevor Williams before that tweet got sent to me. And I loved it. And that kind of stuff is what I want to see more out of the Phillies players.
That's amazing. I love that. And that's so true, man. Like, I feel like you're so locked in. Like, once spring training, you know, comes around, it's just baseball time. And like, these guys, you don't really get to see the personality that kind of, you don't get to see, you know, a Trevor Williams sitting there and just striking out his kid 27 times in a row. That's fucking awesome. You know, you don't get to see so much of the personality from guys who wouldn't ordinarily be showing it. You mentioned Andrew McCutchen. He's a guy who consistently shows his personality. Most guys are not. Most guys are let's go to work today, and let's be productive and let's get a W. So I do think that this time we're going to get to really know the Philadelphia Phillies as human beings, and that's both through their generosity to an attention to the community, the way that they interact with their family. We're going to learn a lot about the character, the characters that they are. So it's going to be a fun watch overall, man. Scott, how about you, man?
Give me Charlie Manuel on Twitter all day. That's all I want.
Yes.
Him figuring out Periscope. I want to see an old man struggle through this. I'll laugh the whole time. And then I'll say some truly endearing and inspiring shit afterwards. It'll be a 5-minute Periscope. We'll do it once and then do it again in 6 months, and we'll all just be captivated by it. That's all I want out of the Phils.
I actually dig that. I mean, you could throw Chuck in there anywhere, and I'm good. It would not matter. All right, so Scott, while we're on you, I'm actually going to turn it over to you because you had mentioned something in the group chat that I found interesting, and two, I'm curious to see some of the responses of the guys. Honestly, the two responses that I was most curious of hearing are two guys that are not on the show tonight now. But regardless, I'm going to turn it over to you for your NBA over into the MLB take. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is actually coming out of Australian basketball. The Balls, maybe the first family of the NBA. I'm going to give him that title. But LaMelo Ball just bought out his Australian league team, which he is evading going to college and playing professionally there for a year. Smart business move. I'll give him that. I hate the Balls, but I'll give him that. So him and his agent, because I don't think he has enough money really to do this quite yet, they bought a portion of their Australian League basketball team. And with that in mind, I want to know from everyone on the show who in the Phillies organization you would trust to own part of the team and have a smart business mind.
Biscuit, man. Start with you.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's get over to Biscuit.
So I'm guessing it would be a current player, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I have an answer ready if you want to take
go
some
for it, Sean.
Yeah, go for it. I got to think about it.
So I actually spent a good amount of time thinking about this because I didn't want to say, one of the big guys because I feel like that's the easy answer. But truly only one guy stuck out to me on the entire team, and that was JT. Because the whole way he handled his arbitration case and saying he was fighting for, the catchers instead of him. He was fighting for the catchers to make more in the future. And he tried to formulate what was best for the future of the position instead of just himself. And I feel like if he applied that to a team that he owned, even a team that he played for, he would do a great job at it. He would be dedicated, and he would do it, with, I'm guessing, a high level of intelligence. But
I think that's a really smart take. I was assuming people were going to go semi-sarcastic with this. I don't know why, but you went totally logic-based. And I wasn't prepared for it, and I absolutely love it. Well done, man. Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. All right, Biscuit, you got an answer, or should we pass it over to Shane right now?
Ooh. I feel like this is going to be, I'm going to say Bryce. The reason I say Bryce is because I think he is he's the big man on campus. And I think he's someone who, while, is a great baseball player, he is a savvy baseball mind. He is someone who can walk the walk in a business aspect. And I also think he is, Philly-centric, whereas, he's really embraced the Philly culture and the, organization as a whole. And I just think that could be really impactful on the, ownership side, just because he is about, the Philly, end game, which is winning another World Series. So I guess I would go with Bryce. I don't know. I was kind of taken off guard by this question, but I think he'd be a good man for the job.
I can see that.
So my main argument to the Bryce thing, in agreement to you, Biscuit, was the fact that this was a guy that cared more about the end result and the lasting image of his career and his career in this city, and he willingly took less money. He like just all these different things that showed, he wanted the big picture to mean something in the end and not just his numbers. I feel like there's a guy that in there business wise that could set aside his own financial need or gain, which is very opposite of certain things that occur in this country. I trust him to sit there and manage something in a way that it is both for the element of success as well as profitability. So I do agree to that point. Another guy who did very similar, and he wasn't necessarily given too much of an option, but I'm going to say it anyway, is Mickey Moniak. He's incredibly smart. He's really, really well spoken. And he's another guy who, when he was originally drafted, signed for under slot value, which, had he told the Phillies that he wasn't interested in signing for under slot value, they probably would have gone with like a Blake Rutherford or something like that year, or an AJ Puck, I think it was. It was that year. They may have gone for a bit of a more sure thing or a polished version of a Mickey Moniak. But he is betting on himself and took less to sit there to be the number one overall pick and to play for this city. And that's kind of a guy who I also think similar to Bryce would just fully integrate himself into this city, into whatever role he ended up being. And if it was mayor of the Philadelphia Phillies, I think he'd do a fine job. How about you, Scott?
So it's a weird take, and I've been hesitant to say it. I've been thinking about this question since the LaMelo Ball thing came up. But I think I want to give Andrew McCutchen partial ownership of the Phils. He's not a Philly homegrown guy. He's been around a little bit. However, I've been wholly impressed with what he did in a year for the Phils when he played, 15, 30 games or something before he tore his ACL. Like, he was impressive out there. But he stayed relevant in the clubhouse, and he's still a fan favorite, and he hasn't done a whole lot for us. So it's the Jay-Z factor, right? The Nets gave Jay-Z, a small amount of ownership, and he sat on the sidelines and promoted them. Andrew McCutchen kind of did that, and he's the best Philly on social media right now. He's been around a little bit. He has the money probably to buy in somewhat to the Phils at this point in his career. I don't know. I trust him. In Kutch we trust, and it might not be a knight like Didi Gregorius, but I trust the guy with my team.
The only way I'm cool with this is if his uniform for the job is that awful double maroon on maroon with the zip up front with the gold chains. That was the sexiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
That was some Josh Richardson shit. Like the two of them, man.
He was the only one who looked good in that uniform.
Yeah.
Forever. For all time. He will be the only person that looks good wearing that just awful piece of clothing.
From a branding perspective, as a model, as an ambassador, you kind of want him up there on the stage.
All right. And it's crazy. This is a real thing. It's at a certain point. Certainly not in professional sports or organizations, but you are going to start seeing, athletes, I think, making financial investments to their sport. We start seeing it with minor league players. We start seeing some of the major league guys make donation. I don't know if they even legally can do that. I should probably look into that first. But I do think that it's a smart business thing and I think it's just the right thing to do in a lot of cases.
Similarly, Aaron Rodgers owns part of the Bucks. That's not the same sport, but he's still playing. So I don't know if that's legal or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Basketball is one of the few sports that allows celebrities and stars to come in and kind of promote things for them and get a minority ownership. And
Yeah.
mind you, a minority ownership is, 0.01% ownership. I believe that's all they have to own to be able to claim anything. But it's good for the brand, and I wish baseball would do that. I mean, we're just perpetually behind the eight ball and, not doing things to stay relevant in a society where kind of celebrities unfortunately run a lot of things. I would love to see us do that.
Everyone should kind of follow the NBA. I mean, they are probably the most progressive in a lot of these different things, which is crazy because even them, they haven't given as much into things as they probably should. But still, that goes to show you just how far behind baseball is and has been for ever. But yeah, Scott, awesome topic, man. Before we jump off this one, I wanted to do, and I specifically did not prep you guys for this because I wanted your genuine, surprised emotion to the questions. But I want to do a bit of a rapid fire with you guys, and rather than putting any one of you on the spot if you don't have an answer to some of the questions, I'm just going to kind of throw this out here, and the second you have a response, just jump in. And then if you get to debate with each other, we have about, I would say, 8 to 12 more minutes before listeners decide this is too much time. So we're gonna go through these, and if you have a response to them, just jump right in.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Your least favorite Philadelphia Philly of your lifetime?
Oh God.
Adam Eaton.
Yes.
That's easy.
Do you guys remember David Buchanan?
Fuck off.
He
Did you
had a
read
few
my tweet
gems.
about that?
I believe I saw something, but I just
What a
like
piece of
what
shit.
pitcher did I hate watching? Jonathan Pettibone too.
Everyone from that rotation.
Well, yeah.
Aaron
Give me-
Harang.
Give me Vicente Padilla. He's not Kurt Schilling. I hate his guts. Next question.
Michael Saunders.
All right.
Cameron Rupp. We talked about that.
no,
Oh God.
Why do you guys hate on
Cameron
it,
Rupp.
man?
I like Cameron Rupp.
Thank you. I also liked Cameron Rupp.
I hated his guts.
I know.
Could not
If you
stand
would have
him.
just hated him more often, he would have hit home runs more often.
You're completely right.
Oh my God, one last one. Sean Rodriguez. End of story.
That's
You
the
don't- you
winner.
That walk-off, come on. He got booed the day after.
I'm so sorry. I'm such an entitled fan.
He
Jose
walked it
Mesa
off
kind of
and
sucks
then
too.
got.
God damn it.
Jose Mesa drives me crazy.
Joe
All
Taylor
right.
blows. Yeah.
That was a quality one. All right, next one. Most memorable Philly moment, not World Series related.
I
That
saw
shows you a lot about the franchise.
Ooh, I have. Well, you got to think about it. There's so many great memories. I remember seeing. It was kind of segueing into those years when the Phillies started to really fall off, and it was like right before the rebuild happened. But I remember one night, I saw a Ryan Howard grand slam that actually gave the Phillies the lead, and it was like right in the 8th inning. The offense was pretty, 2013 or 2014 Phillies offense that night, and just to see Ryan, still have it, even though he didn't, sustain that power throughout the end of his career. But it's just one of those memories that always stuck out to me, and my, excitement was through the roof. So that's one that just sticks out for me.
All right.
Let's stay on this opening day theme. I remember Doug Glanville homered to start the season when I believe I was in like 5th or 6th grade. So I was 11 or 12. That was 17.
Jeez.
So like 2003, around there.
Mhm.
Yeah. That was a great memory.
Doug
I went
Glanville.
nuts eating my hot dog.
I have a pretty crappy memory, very short term, and if I'm going off of my favorite, kind of live moment, I'm a big Michael Franco guy. I will support him.
Oh,
I
God.
will stay on his island until I die. But I was at his walk off last year on July 14th when I was ready for him to come up and hit a walk off, and he actually did it. And my other one would be I was at the game where Velázquez was in left field, and that was almost the greatest
That is
Phillies game of my lifetime.
I dig that. For as much as I can't stand Vince Velasquez, the pitcher, Vince Velasquez, the athlete in person, is quite fun.
Yeah, I still remember freaking out when he picked up the ball with his left hand and fired it to first base. That caught me so off guard.
I just watched that video.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta rewatch it now.
Also, let's go back to the last question for a second. I hate Don Brown. I can't believe no one brought that up. Next question, please.
Oh,
Oh,
gosh,
God.
Don Brown is rolling somewhere in agony.
He's
He
playing.
might be
in
the-
Mexico.
He's
I
not
think he's-
playing anymore. He's
He's still
think
playing in
he's-
Allentown. They still let him on the team somehow. Saw that guy be the 4-hitter for the Iron Pigs every
think
year.
He's
coaching
technically
hitting.
Still, is he really? I thought he was still
He's-
on a Mexican league team,
no, he moved
Like
back
Kenny Powers.
to Philadelphia area
and he's
because he
coaching.
wanted to conquer his demons, and he said he felt like the people hated him here. Then what better place to start his next life than to reconvince the people? who hated
gonna
him?
Hire that guy to coach them on hitting.
Everyone. He's a former major league player. He don't even have to be good.
That makes sense, I guess. But geez,
But yeah, I mean, look, Charlie Conway, right? Ducks fly forever, or whatever the fuck the quote is.
Ducks fly
I'll-
together.
Ducks fly together. That's what it is, man. Fuck the mighty Ducks up. But yeah, I always thought I'd make a better coach than a player. Sure enough, gives it up for Adam Banks. There's some logic on you. All right.
Goddamn. There was nothing you could have said right there that would have convinced me to not hate Don Brown, Shane, but you just did it with a D2 Mighty Ducks reference.
Do what I can, man. All right. Who would have been your 2020 MVP this year for the Philadelphia Phillies? Team MVP.
Bryce.
yeah, Bryce. That's
Aaron Nola.
Ah, shit. I literally have underneath there not Bryce Harper.
uh,
So other than Bryce Harper, I just forgot that because that was everyone's answer. Aside from Bryce.
Aaron Nola is going to win 22 games this year.
Okay.
In an
I'm
80
gonna
game
say,
season.
uh,
It's going to be impressive.
I'm going to say Zach Wheeler or career year for Didi.
Hector
Almost.
Neris. Hector Neris.
Yeah,
Hector.
don't sleep on Hector. Hector could have a big year.
That's actually a good call. Yeah.
Why are you two supporting that? I love Hector Neris, but he's not going to get an MVP.
Hector, perfect season. He's
Oh
gonna
Kinda
drive
like
this
Brad
team.
Lidge year.
Brad Lidge 2.0.
82
Wait,
saves
Biscuit,
in an 82
you can't
game
talk
year.
about
Yeah.
Brad Lidge and his perfect year and how much that meant because you willingly chose Papelbon out of the bracket
Well, yeah,
over
'cause
a guy.
Papelbon, look, Brad Lidge had one really good year. Papelbon is the Phillies' all-time saves leader. I know the guy was a weenie, but like,
Oh my God.
he was a good ass closer, dude. And what I liked about Papelbon too is that, yeah, he was nuts, but he played with such an intensity. Like it always felt like when he came into a game, it really meant something. And I just kind of like how he carried himself.
What
Then
the
he got a little carried away.
You are alone on this island, my friend.
Dude, he
So
was a good pitcher. What do you want me to say?
He was a fine pitcher, like for
So
the
I
most
had
part.
a Jonathan Papelbon Red Sox jersey back in the day. He was my favorite Red Sox player. Got traded to the Phils. I was super pumped about it. And then I started to hate the guy because I learned how
Can't
bad
imagine
of a
why.
person he was and how
He's
crazy
he's
he was.
yeah,
Like,
he's something.
awesome pitcher, but
Joe
head case
Cap Rice.
among all of the worst head cases. And yeah. Oh.
Ridiculous. All the Papelbon talk, ridiculous. All right, so we're at 48 minutes. Now I'm going to take this down. We have like 8 more random questions here on a rapid fire that has gone very non-rapid like. So I'm going to say first person to start talking gets to keep going. And if multiple people talk at the same time, someone just talk louder to assert their dominance to the question. All right. A hot take that you have had about the Philadelphia Phillies over the last 10 to 15 years that went miserably, miserably wrong.
Phillies winning the fucking division last year. Boy, did that blow up in my face. Oh my
It's a
gosh.
hot take. That was everyone in the fucking baseball community thought that was going to happen.
But I thought it was going to be like I could have sworn we were going to the World Series. Like I could have put money on it if I really wanted to. Like I think that was partially wishful thinking. I think a playoff, spot would have been oh my god, why am I
Sufficient.
blanking on sufficient? But I was all in. Another take would have been the Phillies still had enough in them for a run in 2015 and or 20 not 2015, probably like 2013, 2014. I was still very into
13,
those
yes.
years.
14, meh, not so much. 15, you're out of your fucking mind.
Gosh, yeah, 15's when it
15
15's
was
when it really
not a
hit the
good
wall.
year. Was 15 the year that they legitimately had the worst record in baseball?
Yeah, Mickey Moniak, number one overall.
Mhm.
Right?
In
Yeah.
2016,
I think like
yeah.
2013,
2016.
2014, we were like 73 and 89 or something both years.
2015, we got the number one pick because we were the worst team in baseball.
Right.
Hmm.
So, sure, we had a left in the tank. Terrible fucking take. All right.
You can convince me in anything, Shane.
Oh, no, hey, that you answered the question appropriately. That was well done. All right, next one. Oh, fuck that. I'm going to skip that question because it sucks. All right, most attractive Philly, past or present?
Is Charlie Manuel an option again?
You're an asshole.
Ooh.
Shut up. Especially when he popped his teeth out in the dugout.
I want.
Yeah,
John,
I just hope I
want-
look that good at 87 years old or however old Chuck is.
I don't even think he's in his 70s yet.
Oh, he's definitely in his
Yes,
70s.
he is.
He's
He's
absolutely
definitely in his 70s.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's that old. I thought he was in his mid-60s.
No, he was in his
The answer to
mid-60s
this
when he was still
question
coaching.
is really Cole Hamels and his just amazing hair. Yeah.
Prime John Kruk. That's. I mean,
Oh my god.
Ooh.
Ooh,
there's no other
big
answer.
sexy himself. Yeah.
Oh, I was wrong.
No.
You guys are right. He's 76 years old.
He's checking out ages while these guys are. Oh, that's brilliant.
When you're 76 and look like you're 87, that's not a good sign. Someone check in on Charlie Manuel for me, please. He's not in the city, so I can't do it.
He
but-
just got out of the hospital.
Stay
my
6 feet
God.
away, please, but like just check on him.
Oh god.
Protect you at all costs.
Oh. All right. Favorite place to sit in the ballpark?
Right field.
What the fuck? All right, whatever.
I would say for this, right, like 10 rows behind the Phillies dugout. I feel like that's an
Okay.
easy answer, but
I think that's a quality selection.
Am I the only one who
will
likes the
double that.
outfield?
Yes. You are.
I love sitting in the outfield. I like sitting in the outfield, or I like the 200 level, like right behind home plate. I feel like that gives you like a really good view of everything.
I agree. Yeah.
Everything behind home plate's perfect.
I was gonna say everything behind the foul poles. Anything in the outfield sucks, kind of.
I don't know. I like sitting.
There's
in the
not a bad seat anywhere. It's just not.
Well, yeah, but
Like that to me is like an opening day seat because it's like the cheapest that you can find.
right.
But for the most part, man, I'm with you guys inside the foul poles, or outside the foul poles, excuse me. All right, tailgate before the party or before the game, or party after a win.
I'm all for tailgating it. Yeah.
Tailgate, yeah.
Jetro with a 6-pack, and yeah, that's all I need.
All right, well, so if we happen to have baseball this year, we will have an AMYP tailgate beforehand.
Absolutely.
I
All
will
right, so
mail
we're-
you guys some hot dogs because I probably can't be there.
We'll fly you out. Don't worry about it.
Cool.
So I'm
Flights
sure
are-
we have a
flights are cheap.
giant family.
Always
dude.
next to
Someone
your
else is gonna
podcast
get married.
exclusive.
All right, your favorite baseball quote of all time.
Oh gosh. So, this movie is either I feel like loved or hated by baseball.
Not a
fans.
fucking movie.
Oh,
Like
If you're going
Actual
with if you're going with the Babe Ruth quote from The Sandlot,
nah.
Okay.
I was
Then
going
you-
with
you can
Moneyball.
proceed.
I don't know how you guys feel about the movie, but the quote,
It's hard to
You
not
know,
be romantic about baseball.
yeah, there's just
Yeah.
something kind of like mystic. I think it adds like a level of like mysticness. I don't even know if that's a word, but it adds like
Definitely not.
it adds like a kind of deeper emotional level of like what baseball means to people. You know, it's some people's life. It's some things that certain people look forward to that people care about on a serious basis. I'm kind of blanking on words right now. This is past my bedtime, but
It's Sean's lunchtime, so we're trying to accommodate everyone.
I've been up since like 7 a.m. It's getting fuzzy out here for me.
Nice.
I have a quote, and it took me a while to find this one in my brain, but Chase Utley's 2008 World Series speech.
Ooh. So mine was a Chase Utley one too, but it was not that.
What was yours, Shane?
I absolutely love, and it's because it's a mindset that I also had and still have to this day. When someone asked him, because he was at that point the all-time active leader in hit by pitch, they said, "Do you just enjoy getting hit by baseballs?" And his response was, "Well, I don't dislike it." And that to me is 100% how I am. And I loved it. So Chase Utley, you are still forever the man.
I was going to go with a very classic speech, the Lou Gehrig speech after everyone learned about him having ALS, and just says, past 2 weeks you've been reading about a bad break, yet today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth, because we're all so lucky when we get to watch baseball or play baseball, as we're exhibiting right now when we're still talking about it, yet we can't play or watch.
For sure. All right, so 2 more. Okay. Weirdest person that you have ever seen wear a Philadelphia Phillies uniform. So an acquired vet late in their career that just it never looked right.
Pedro Martinez.
Fuck you. That looked amazing.
I love Pedro, but he did not look right.
I feel like someone's mentioned this before. I kind of forget he was there. You know what I mean? Like, he was there for what, like half a season?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Who else looked horrible?
I'm gonna say Grady Sizemore.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I like that better.
That's a quality pick.
I was excited for him to be here, and I was wrong.
Well, gosh. In very typical Philadelphia Philly fashion, we acquire someone after their 48th injury or their 48th birthday and thought that they would be a quality member of the team. They were mistaken.
I was sold on Grady Sizemore comeback. Because he's someone who was really derailed by injuries, right?
Yeah, he was very good.
Can we also say like Jeremy Giambi, because everyone in the city thought that he was Jason Giambi, and he did not do the steroids his brother did, so he was not very good.
Nope, he was just an asshole.
Yeah.
All right, so last one, and this one I definitely chose with Scott in mind. So Scott, you have to answer, but you can answer last.
Okay.
You have one pitch that you have to trust yourself to throw to strike out any ANYP member. What pitch are you going with? Biscuit, go. You gotta strike me out. What are you gonna throw?
I'm gonna throw you a mean changeup, Shane.
Circle or straight?
Circle. Have a little nice break to it.
All right, man. I feel it. All right, Sean, another former baseball guy.
I haven't pitched since I was 15 years old.
Neither is Scott. Don't worry.
I've never pitched a day in my life. I don't even know how to throw a changeup.
I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Thank you very much. But that was probably the same time Sean was throwing. So.
Wow. The only things I could throw was a fastball and a slider, and so I'd have to go with my slider.
All right.
Wasn't great, but
that's all right. It moved at all.
A little bit, like half the time.
Hey, that's good. All right, Scott.
All right. So this is a weird question because I was a setup pitcher, Jamie Moyer-esque. I mean, a lot of people called me a young Jamie Moyer back in the day.
Nobody
a lot of
change
ups. Yeah, nobody did. Let's be serious here. I tried it a bunch of times. No one caught on. But so I was a big guy that would throw you a changeup first pitch, frustrate you, and you'd be like, all right, he can't possibly do that again. I'm going to get this terrible fastball and hit it 500 feet. And I would throw another changeup, and then I would throw another changeup and ice kids and run back to the dugout and then like look him in the eye. But if I'm getting one pitch right here, Shane, I'm giving you the patented 47-mile-an-hour knuckle curveball that's starting like, I don't know, a foot above your head and dropping down to your ankles because it goes so fucking slow. You can't possibly hit it. If I can land it in there, it's a strike, and you're walking back to the dugout, my friend.
I love it. I love it. First of all, I've never seen anyone who threw an actual knuckle curve.
Yeah, me and
So
Clayton
I'd be
Kershaw are the
interested.
only ones who do it.
Oh, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
just you two.
Nobody else in the history of the baseball. Yeah.
The baseball. Oh my God. I do genuinely think that at some point, especially next time Scott is home, that we should all get out to a baseball field at some point. And even if we just do a home run derby, we could go on like a little kids field, like a 200-foot down the line field, 220,
Ooh, that
whatever
would be
they
a
are.
blast.
That's a good
And
move. Yeah.
And we just have a home run derby and just see what goes on.
Me and my surgically repaired arm will throw out meatballs to all of you guys all day. So
There you go. I had to make a fucking video at work today. I work for a bank, right? And they made us do like every branch or every location that people were out of had to either send a picture or make a video of you social distancing or how you're like keeping yourself safe. So everyone else is just like working stations 6 feet apart from each other and like wave awkwardly. So I'm in a branch with all guys, at least right now. So me and my boss at this branch have our baseball stuff with us all the time. And he's a dad, and that was a mistake. Not the kid thing, but like the rest of this story. But we decided to have a catch because we're far enough away from each other. And we had one of the other employees, one of the other associates that work there, sprint from each of us to Lysol the baseball after it gets to us because skin touched it. Except he lobbed baseball to me, and I am like Trevor Bauer, where my shoulder is so fucked up that the only way I can throw is hard. My shoulder doesn't work unless I throw through the pain as hard as I can. And he's a dad, so he's definitely used to like 3, 5, 8-year-old kids like bouncing baseballs towards him. Well, I hit him, and
Oh gosh.
it went off the top of his glove and then off the side of his head, and that's the video that we sent into corporate. Everyone else is sitting there banking there, just, hi, we're staying safe. Meanwhile, we have some kid who's slightly special, I'm sure, spraying shit down in between throws and me throwing a baseball that bounced off my boss's glove and into his head.
Oh God.
First of all, that hit him right in the chest, or it should have. So
that was
would
going to
like-
be my first question: is should he have just caught this ball? Is this guy in the wrong? Like,
yeah, I actually I'm programmed I literally can't miss. The only place I can hit is the chest. I'm just like conditioned that way. Even if my arm hurts, it just either it's fucked up. I don't know what it is, but he should have caught it. Moral of that story. But yeah, we should definitely do that at some point, or even play wiffle ball, which I have not played since Scott, one of your older brothers' graduation parties. That's how fucking long it's been.
it's a very long time. Yeah.
That's because baseball players suck at wiffle ball, like notoriously. We're terrible.
All at it. Yeah. That's why I
that
can hit a wiffle ball, but can't hit a real baseball.
Oh, I see. All right. So anyway, we're gonna wrap this one up. We're looking to aim between 45 minutes and an hour, and I think after some of the editing, we'll get this down to an hour. So, any final thoughts from you guys before we head out for the night? Biscuit, I'll start with you.
All I gotta say, Shane, is it's been a pleasure, and go Phillies.
Yes, sir. Sean, anything from you?
I just hope we hear news of when the season's going to start soon, but it's not going to happen. So that's my final thought. Just keep grinding, keep yourself occupied, and keep watching old Phillies games.
Yes, sir. And Scott, how about yourself? Any final thoughts?
Yeah. I'm putting a Phillies hat on right now as I'm giving this final thoughts here. Said for the season, it will come quicker than we all think. And Sean New, this last message is for you and your girlfriend. Good for you guys practicing social distancing. You're doing a better job than the entire state of California. So go you guys. Tell her she's doing a good job, and hopefully, it's paying off for you guys over there. It's tough for everyone out there, but it's a great escape talking to you guys every week. And like I said, we'll have baseball before we even know it. Don't think too much about it.
I appreciate that.
Right on.
And then my final thought is similar to Scott's. this is something I get to look forward to throughout the week. Obviously, I'm still working as Biscuit is and as Sean is, but our circumstances are very different than what they typically were. So, this is that small slice of normalcy of what life was like before this all started to happen. And I do count on that, and hopefully the listeners do too. Biscuit, I know that a lot of the things that I'll say in this moment were things that, just you and I were talking about before recording, but, I appreciate you coming on and having that chat and talking to me about some real world and real life stuff. That's conversations I don't typically get to have. Sean, just as Scott said, I think what you and your girlfriend are doing first of all, it is absolutely adorable. You guys are awesome. You're definitely a couple that one, I hope lasts, but two, I very rarely could actually hang out with other couples because I feel like that's just an awful experience. You guys seem like good people. But mainly for the softball connection, not going to lie. Like,
yeah.
100% go to Oklahoma with you guys. And Scott, man, just keep staring at the beach. Ass.
I would much rather be back in Philadelphia staring at terrible weather with all of you guys. So
yeah, man, not great. But all the listeners, man, everybody stay safe, stay inside, do your part. I joked with what I would do if I were Andrew, or not Andrew, Sean, excuse me. But just be smart and don't put yourself or anybody else at risk. And the more people that kind of follow those guidelines, the quicker this thing will phase itself out. But anyone else who has questions for us? I know Andrew has offered at some point, if anybody wants to reach out, he's on Twitter often. Reach out to us. Most of us aren't doing anything that you're also not doing. So feel free to reach out if you have questions about baseball, questions about anything. We will be glad to answer. Put it on the show or just respond to you. Anyway, that's going to wrap this one up for the PTBNL, the podcast to be named later. One day we will actually name it. All right. For Scott, for Sean, and for Biscuit, I am Shane, AMYP Network.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.